man that does not need introduction. He's my predecessor as the DI director for the city of Beverly. And we're so honored to have him join us this morning. Abu?
I'm usually last, so this is different. Good morning, everyone. Let me know if I'm too close or too far. Better close. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. I'm thrilled and honored to be here with everyone this morning. It's great to see so many friendly faces that I knew when I was working as the DEI director for the city. I miss you guys, so it's great to see everyone. As I reflect on this day and the legacy of Dr. King, I'm reminded of a first stanza of Psalm 133, which reads, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." To me, the important word in that psalm is unity. Unity, the state of being united or joined as a whole. United, joined together for a common purpose or common feelings. Our ability to unite for a common purpose is needed swiftly at this very hour. The fight for equity and equality that Dr. King and so many others were united for that common purpose during the civil rights movement is once again in jeopardy. Dr. King understood the need for us to come together as people if anything is to be accomplished. As our country continues to be divided, our call to action to unite is of the utmost importance. We must act with all intent and purpose to build our understanding of one's lived experiences. We can no longer be bystanders in the fate of our own destiny. The civil rights movement was a crucial time in our nation's history. The fight for freedom, liberty, and justice, as some of those unalienable rights are at stake again, we must seek the example set by Dr. King and all of those who united to fight for what's right. Dr. King understood the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. He understood by uniting our collective voices, the sound reverberating from that one voice would be too loud to ignore. We must regain that voice, that unity. We must again seek to build our sense of community, a community that ensures respect, acknowledgement, and rights of all of ours who are part of it. A community can empower, a community can uplift, a community can unite. Let's work towards a community, a state, a country that can dwell together in unity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abu Toppin. Today we are graced by the presence of leadership. We have Mayor Cahill with us, as well as Councillor St. Hilaire, Councillor Sweeney, Councillor Crowley, our department heads. I believe we have other elected officials. I'm not sure I've mentioned everybody, but as we proceed. Senator Lovely, welcome. Thank you. Yes, please.
Sorry, thanks. Since I've been doing this a while, I wrote the names down as I was running around. We're still going to miss people, so please. But Council President Julie Flowers is here. Thanks, President. For Ward 1, Councilor Todd Rotundo. School Committee President Rachel Abel. School Committee Member Lorinda Visnick. School Committee Member Kimberly Coelho. Governor's Counselor Eileen Duff. Democratic State Committee Woman Julie Curtis. And now, if we missed you, could you raise your hand? Oh, Ward 2 City Councilor Danielle Spang. Anybody else? Great.
Awesome. It takes a team. Next, I would like to welcome Dr. Morgan.
Well, good morning to each of you. On behalf of our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Sucha Rochek, in her absence, and our school committee members, a few of which are here, and you just heard them name, but I do want to recognize them in alphabetical order. Mrs. Rachel Abel, Mayor Michael Cahill, Mrs. Kim Huelo, and Mrs. Lorinda Bisnick. From all of us at Beverly Public Schools, we say welcome and thank you for being a part of today's program and celebration. One of the joys I had leading Opportunity, Access, and Equity is getting to know our students. From our pre-K to high school learners, your enthusiasm for life has been and continues to be an energy source for me. Similarly, Dr. King's enthusiasm to make our society a better place for all people drives my service each and every day. I appreciate the chance to speak with you on this special day, the birthday of a man who contributed so much to our way of life. I admire the legacy of Dr. King because, one, he was a man of faith, and two, he spoke truth to power regardless of who was in the White House. In fact, he told then President Lyndon Baines Johnson that more needed to be done for black people and collectively for people of color in the United States. And due to this stance, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. drew ire from many people, all because he spoke up for what was right and just. And as we gather together today under common purpose to remember Dr. King's life and legacy, I'm reminded of his speech at Dartmouth College in 1962, in which he explains the sociological term maladjusted. He defined it as one who cannot accept social norms in society. Then he turns the entire term on its head, saying he's happy to be maladjusted, particularly if it means adopting to racism in a society built against him and his people. As I consider this speech and other speeches that Dr. King has given, I'm thinking today about the justice seekers, the community builders, the freedom riders, and all those who struggle so that our lives can be shaped for the way that they are today. We are because of them. And while we should reflect each day, today let's think about committing ourselves to living out the values of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. No matter what your age, you can live out courage, truth, justice, compassion, dignity, and service. These are the very values that we strive daily to stand up in each and every school and in each and every classroom. We are living in unprecedented times, and we're challenged by the state of our nation. But the actions we exhibit in our everyday lives are strong. And yes, indeed, another world is possible. That's why it's important for our school district to work hard each and every day so that each and every student has the capability to use their minds, their unique talents, and their vision for a better future. Dr. King had many messages, but the one that really resonates with me today is that all things are possible. And to each and every one of you here, and to those who might be streaming in, our message to you is that you matter. It is my joy to introduce Ms. Jenna Schweitzer, Beverly High School senior, who will share a land acknowledgement.
Hello, everybody. Today, we respectfully acknowledge the Namkyag people, as the land we are currently on was their ancestral land until disease, war, slavery, and colonization displaced them from their homeland. The Namkyag people were descended from the Pawtucket people who originated from northern New England. We recognize our obligations to this land and to the indigenous people who care for it. As we work towards diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, we acknowledge our need to decolonize our systems by including indigenous people and perspectives in our discourse, in our decision-making, and in our actions. Thank you.
like to invite Isis, who's visiting us from the NAACP branch. Isis Patterson is the Vice President of NAACP, and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see such a great turnout this year, all your faces, and for everyone online as well. Thank you for showing up and showing out. So this morning I'm going to be reading the historical contributions on equity in the Africa diaspora, otherwise known as the labor acknowledgement. So I will begin. On behalf of the NAACP, I recognize and acknowledge that the very foundation of the United States of America was built on the free and forced labor of Black people of the African diaspora, as well as indigenous people to this land. This foundation has generational and exponential effects that continue to negatively impact Black communities today and that continue to be uncompensated as well. The historical and contemporary contributions of the Black diaspora continue to shape American culture and benefit all inhabitants of this land. This statement is acknowledging these specific histories and encourage you to think about what this means and what this continues to look like today. I'd also like to, I did this last year, which was kind of read an excerpt from Dr. King's Strength to Love book, which if you haven't read it, it's a great read, especially in times today, just very grounding, proving how connected we all are in this life that we share together. So, 1 second here. So it reads, returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Hate multiplies hate. Violence multiplies violence. And toughness multiplies toughness in a descending spiral of destruction. So when Jesus says, love your enemies, he is settling forth a profound and ultimately inescapable admonition. Have we not come to such an impasse in the modern world that we must love our enemies or else? The chain reaction of evil, hate begetting hate, wars producing wars, must be broken, or we shall be plunged into the dark abyss of annihilation. Thank you.
We're now going to hear from our students at this time. We're going to start with our Cove Elementary School students, grade 4, who will share poetry, and Marina Navacola and Susanna Turnbull. If you are here, will you join us at the podium this morning? Can you give them a round of applause?
He had a dream. There was a man who had a dream that could truly change the world. With his heart of gold, he stood and said his words so powerful, strong, and mighty. I have a dream, he said, to teach boys and girls, women and men to be equal and full of joy, to not hate others. So that was his goal, and that goal has truly changed the world.
A dream. He had a dream, a big, beautiful dream, for peace in all the lands, for us to put aside our differences, for us to treat others with respect, no matter who they are. Yes, he had a dream, a big, beautiful dream, for people to live in harmony, That man named Martin Luther King is the beginning of this holiday.
And now we'll hear from two of our middle school students, two 8th graders, who are joining us this morning to share their perspectives on what Dr. King's life and legacy means. And so I'm going to ask Jordan Downey and Dante Shaw Espinal to join me up front.
On this day, January 15th, 2024, is Martin Luther King's birthday. This marks 6 years since 2018 that his birthday has fallen on his holiday, on his celebration. On August 28th, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. announced his famous speech to the world, "I have a dream." On this same day, he marched into Washington, D.C. I believe people still march and protest till this day due to him because he believed and stood for everyone's rights. This August marks 60 years since his speech in March. His words are just as important now as they were then. To me, Martin Luther King Jr. Day means a lot since I myself am from an ethnic background. This day represents equality for all human beings, no matter skin color, race, or ethnicity. What Martin Luther King Jr. did was one of the most important things that's ever happened in this country's history. If it weren't for Martin Luther King Jr., children of different races or skin colors wouldn't be allowed in schools together, allowed to play together, or even seen with each other in public. Racism would be a bigger problem more than it ever is today. I think more people should advocate for what he stood for, and one thing about his favorite speech that I admired was having a dream. I believe all people should have a dream, no matter how minuscule or ginormous it may be. If a lot of people lived by his words, the world could be a better place. He believed, just as I believe, that no matter our skin colors, we are all the same.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Jordan Downey, and I'm a student from here at Beverly Middle School. In my opinion, why I think Martin Luther King Jr. Day is important is because Martin Luther King Jr. was a big impact in the black community, helping them with getting equal rights and fighting for how everyone should be treated equally. Many people disagreed with Martin Luther King and his decision, but that didn't stop his dedication to fight for what equal rights for the black community. Martin Luther King was a big impact because no matter what everyone said to him and all the threats he got, he still kept fighting for what was right. Martin Luther King is inspiring towards me because he shows that no matter how much it will take, you should always fight for what is right no matter what other people's opinion is. We've came a long way since then, but we still have a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Is Janie David gotten here just yet? Well, on your program, if you're looking at an agenda, you've noticed that we bypass the Black National Anthem. And while I am not a song person, music is not my ministry, we're going to do a bar of it for those of you who know the words and will join me and will sing along. I think it's important that we not skip over it and negate it because the words of the song were so very important to the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, for the work that he engaged, for the message and philosophy that he stood for. Now, I'm not going to sing into the mic, but I'm just going to ask, if you will with me, I'm going to share the words. If you know the words and you want to come and join me, I welcome that opportunity. Please and thank you. But here are the words of the song. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. All right, are we ready to do this? Do I have somebody who's going to stand with me on this one? Yes, let us stand if you would. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. Not yet. Thank you, gentlemen. Much appreciated. And as we round out our program on this morning, we're going to ask Mayor Michael Cahill to come share a few remarks, and that will be closed out by the City of Beverly Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Director, Wangari Fahari.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. For that show of courage, I am even going to root for your Philadelphia Eagles today. Good morning, everybody. It's really so wonderful to see you. Happy Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I think what I'll do first is just share a little bit of history because we're celebrating one of the greatest Americans who's ever lived, one of the most impactful people in the history of our country, Dr. Martin Luther King. And in April 1963, a series of civil rights protests occurred in Birmingham, Alabama, to challenge segregation in Birmingham's public accommodations. Pro-segregation white residents and local police responded to the protests with violence and legal suppression. On April 10, 1963, a state judge granted city officials an injunction banning all anti-segregation protest activity in the city of Birmingham. Dr. King and the Reverend Ralph Abernathy chose to lead a march in defiance of the injunction and were arrested on April 12, 1963. Dr. King spent 8 days in jail before being released on bail, and during that time wrote his famed Letter from Birmingham Jail. Dr. King and the Reverend Abernathy were still prosecuted after posting bail, and on April 26, 1963, they were convicted of contempt of court. Dr. King and the Reverend Abernathy unsuccessfully appealed, and on October 30th, 1967, 4.5 years later, returned to Birmingham to each serve 5-day jail sentences. Dozens of supporters protested outside of Birmingham's jail for the duration of their incarceration. So Dr. King was put in jail for protesting peacefully for equal rights. And he wrote this letter from Birmingham jail, which is about 6 pages long on a typed page. I'm just going to read a brief excerpt. It was a letter he wrote to white clergy people in the community of Birmingham who had been critical of him and saying that he was wrong to protest. And here's the excerpt from his letter. History is the long and tragic story of the fact that privileged groups seldom give up their privileges voluntarily. Individuals may see the moral light and give up their unjust posture, but groups are more immoral than individuals. We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Frankly, I have never yet engaged in a direct action movement that was, quote, well-timed, according to the timetable of those who have not suffered unduly from the disease of segregation. For years now, I have heard the word wait. This wait has almost always meant never. We must come to see that justice too long delayed is justice denied. We have waited for more than 340 years for our constitutional and God-given rights. The nations of Asia and Africa are moving with jet-like speed toward the goal of political independence, and we still creep at horse and buggy pace toward the gaining of a cup of coffee at a lunch counter. So what I want to do is spend just a couple minutes now sharing with you a little bit about the work we're doing in Beverly in 2024. As many of you, maybe most of you know, a couple of years ago, Beverly hired a consultant to conduct a race equity audit of our own operations as a city government. Not surprisingly, we learned that we have a ways to go. So with that consultant, we've set up a bunch of trainings for our staff and our volunteers, and we're excited that they're coming back in about a week to spend 2 days in town with us for the second time in a few months, to do a follow-up training with our department heads and many other city staff. Part of our focus is on trying to make local government more accessible to everybody in our community. Some progress on that front. Language is a significant barrier for a lot of people to access governmental services, and so we've been able to bring some software programming and technology to the windows at many of our city departments where people come in to conduct business. But we also know that for a lot of people in Beverly, particularly first-generation residents for whom English is at best a second language, we know that we need to do a lot of work to be in the community, not just inside of an address at City Hall, to try to connect with, build relationships with, build trust with members of our community who don't really have that accessibility that most of us take for granted. So we're working on that. Representation, and I think this is really the rest of what I'm going to say. Representation is not everything, but the last census in 2020 showed that in Beverly, we are now between 15 and 20%, I'd suggest it's closer to 20%, non-white in Beverly. We're becoming a much more diverse community, and we're only going to become more diverse. And representation, by that I mean a lot of things, but this morning I just want to ask you for some help, because in Beverly we have 26 or 27 boards and committees that are populated by volunteers from the community. They're called multiple member bodies, and we need at any time about 350 volunteers to be part of volunteering on these boards and committees. These boards and committees are part of where, as a local democracy, policy making and decision making happens. And so it's critically important that the whole community is represented at those tables. We never have enough people, so I'm going to say, and I'm glad BevCam is here, we need more people to volunteer as part of our local democracy. Right? And at the same time, we also very much need more people of color, because it's just not these boards and committees don't look like the rest of the community. They don't reflect the community as a whole. We need to do a better job with that. So I just say it aloud. If anybody thinks they might have an interest in a little bit of time in volunteering within the community, we need you. And then there's one specific request on that front. In 2 years, we in Beverly will be celebrating the 400th anniversary of Europeans arriving in North America. We'll be celebrating the 400th anniversary of Europeans landing in what's known as Salem Bay, including Beverly. We also, as a country, in 2 years, will be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And so here in Beverly, we have a group that's come together called Beverly 400 that is trying to plan for all the appropriate ways to mark, to honor, to celebrate in 2 years. And that group, just like all of our other committees, maybe especially that group, because there needs to be a lot of sensitivity around just all that has happened during our country's history and all that happened when Europeans first arrived and started interacting with the people who were already the residents of Beverly. So anyone who thinks they might have a little time, anybody who's got a friend with a little bit of time, we need help with these efforts. And as I said, we especially need more diversity so we can best reflect our community, not just for people looking at that committee, but for how that committee thinks and does their work. So thank you for all that, and thank you for the chance to say that and make that request as we honor Dr. King today and all his amazing work. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Mayor Cahill. I had written something to share with you, but it was so well represented from Mr. Abutopin to Dr. Morgan's words, to the students, and to Mayor Cahill. So I'll just say it's an honor working with Mayor Michael Cahill, our city councilors, community leaders, and Beverly City government at large to sustain a Beverly that goes beyond inclusion. A city that truly fosters a deep sense of community in belonging. And we heard it in Mayor's words, the encouragement for us to properly represent ourselves in our boards, in our commissions. I'm here to say that favoritism has no place here in Beverly. We do not, in any shape or form, discriminate people based on race, gender identity, sexual orientation, homelessness, age. We welcome everybody to tap into our resources and be part of providing the best services for our residents. We will continue to highlight content. Celebrations like this today will continue to be made possible, and we'll continue to offer training that will continue the conversation, add historical context to these issues, and enable change. Please connect with Mayor Cahill's DI office for feedback, and if you have any questions, and if you would be interested in joining any of our boards, commissions, or be a volunteer, we welcome you to join us and to reach out to us at any time. Thank you for coming this morning and for keeping the faith in a time where we need it the most. Let freedom ring in our schools, homes, streets, and offices. Happy Dr. King Day to you. I want to ask one request, just a really wonderful, loud applause to our students for their courage. Have a great day.
Wait. Before everybody leaves, I just wanted to mention that for those of you who don't know, we are going to have the second annual Amplifying Voices, which is a film festival being hosted at the Cabot Theater. It's a project that I started with the Cabot and has been continued. We are partnering with the city, Montserrat, Endicott College, Self Signaling Technology as partners. And what we're doing is this film fest is going to be bringing an opportunity for us to talk about and see those lived experiences through film. And it's filmmakers of color. We have a great program this year. It's going to be on February 2nd and 3rd, again at the Cabot. Please visit their website if you're interested in getting tickets and going to see. We would love to have you, and I just want to make sure you all were in. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to say thank you.